בקיצור, מי לא בקיצור. Who will be cut off and who will live a full life? מי באש ומי במים. Who by fire and who by water. בראש השנה
Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. The heavy liturgy that we've been working with this week for the sphere of Gevurah, which is strength and might, and also that power of destructiveness, through which we discussed the practical application of allowing the disassembling of barriers between us and the divine, between us and reality. And this week we're coming to what is considered in Kabbalah to be the root of all of the other Sefirot. Yay, we made it to HESED, loving kindness. Much more pleasant than Gevurah. And, because of the fact that we have this tradition both during the time of the counting of the Omer between Pesach and Shavuot, and also beginning after Tisha B'Av, leading up to Rosh Hashanah, we also have 7 weeks, and so we've been counting the Sefirot in the other direction. There's these two maps in Kabbalah that exist simultaneously. One is the 10 Sefirot, and one is the 7 Sefirot. So the 7, from the perspective of the 7 Sefirot, which we've been looking at for the last 7 weeks, then Chesed is number 1. So we've arrived back at oneness, and there's the symbolism is very congruent between Chesed and Keter, which is the number 1 when we begin with when we're doing the 10 Sefirot, in the sense that Keter is more about just the fact of oneness. It's not something we have to do anything about. It's not even really mystical in any way. It's just a simple, obvious fact that there's one reality just by definition. There can't be more than one reality, because the word reality by definition means that which is. It means that which is real. So if whatever is part of that oneness. And we can work with that in the sense of becoming conscious that we are in the presence constantly of that oneness, both as a fact and as a reality that's embodied in all situations and all things and all aspects of our experience. But if that oneness is to become something that is lived, then the primary way of doing that is through Chesed, meaning that when we feel an affinity with other beings, when we recognize that we're part of that one, then Chesed is the natural attitudinal kavanah response to have, and it's what's there when there's not something else covering it up. So Chesed is really number 1. And you may have seen this teaching that during this time of Elul, there's a teaching about the word Elul itself, which is that Elul itself is an embodiment in its totality of Chesed, or of loving kindness. Because of the 3 letters, we can see the letters here: Aleph, Lamed, Vav, and Lamed for Elul. And here's the verse from the Song of Songs, the Only book in the Bible that's really an erotic love song. It's so erotic that most Jewish English translations of the Song of Songs don't really translate it. I have several different um, uh, biblical texts here in my room here, and none of them translate it literally. Only one of them gives in the footnotes in the bottom the actual literal translation of the Song of Songs. Of course, you can find it in other ways. It's online on Safaria. Safaria has literal translation of Song of Songs. It's an erotic love song, but it's part of the Bible because it's always been understood as a metaphor for the love affair between the soul and the divine, or between Hashem and Israel, as it's sometimes said. And who is who? Who's the maiden and who's the young man that's described in the Song of Songs? It really it's very fluid. It switches back and forth. It's a beautiful um, piece of text that I highly recommend. But anyway, this is a verse from the Song of Songs, which simply says, "Ani ledodi vedodi li." Ani, I, ledodi, I am to my beloved, which means I belong to my beloved. Vidodi li, and my beloved is to me, meaning that my beloved belongs to me. This is the characterization of the time of Elul, coming out of the recognition and the willingness to feel the pain of loss and destruction that is the observance of Tisha B'Av. That coming out of that allowance of the reality of sadness, of loss, of destruction, to come um, a little shoot rising up out of the rubble is the beginning of Elul. That's the beginning of renewal. Now there was a Rebbe, his name was Rabbi Yechiel Michalov Zlochov, and he taught on this verse. This is a verse that comes from the book of Devarim, which is Deuteronomy, which is what we're in right now, but this one comes more towards the beginning, chapter 5, verse 5. This is Moses speaking, and Moses is telling the Israelites, Anochi omed bein Adonai uveinechem. I stood between you and the divine. The context is that the people were too afraid to be able to receive the revelation directly, so Moses was like being the intermediary. They were given the chance, but they were too afraid. So Moses says, I stood between you and the divine. But this Hasidic Rebbe, second generation Hasidic Rebbe, did a little expansion, a little drash on this verse. He said that it is the I, it is that sense of I, the sense of self, that stands as a wall between us and the divine. And he says, it's like it's not just the word, of course, it's not just the word I, but rather it's the sense of assertion of our sense of I. So when our consciousness is absorbed into that sense of I, and that's what we're concerned about. I want this, I think that, this is, good for me, this is bad for me. When we're centering and relating everything to the I, that is the fundamental barrier, of course. And this is a universal spiritual wisdom, of course. We understand from all different traditions that in order to shift into the recognition of that divine dimension, there has to be a learning how to relax that sense of I. And one of the ways of doing that, there are many ways of doing that. So the 32 paths of presence that I often talk about, the 10 Sefirot, the 22 letters, each one of them are actually a different way of doing this. But one of them is the devotional way, in the sense of considering, of framing our relationship with the divine as a relationship of love, and consciously taking the attitude of offering our I to the divine. And so this is what Rabbi Yechiel Michal is advocating, or he's teaching. He's saying, offer yourself to the divine. When you feel that sense of me, that sense of contraction, of self-concern or relating everything to the self, say, Hashem, it's in your hands. And this is actually what we do in a certain form when we meditate. In this group, we begin always by bringing right hand to the heart and offering our attention to the divine. And he quotes the same verse for Elul, Ani ledodi v'dodi li. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. Now, we can really expand on this because the offering of the I really works in two different directions. If we get a little deeper with it, it's not just about us offering our I to the divine. That's one piece of it. We offer our I when we give our attention to the divine as the underlying reality of this moment. But then there's another way it can go. To recognize that the divine is already offering its I to us, because this awareness that you are right now in this moment, the awareness that hears these words, that does this little Torah study right now, that awareness is already Hashem, awake as you, as your consciousness. This HESED that we are receiving right now in this moment, and we can receive this HESED anytime we simply appreciate the fact that we exist. We can have all kinds of gratitude for specific blessings in our life, but there's no blessing more fundamental than the fact of existence itself, the fact that we're here. For me personally, that's often what I focus on. I'm very appreciative of all the many blessings, but just to be is such an unlikely miracle. Just the fact that here we are is such a mind-blowing miracle. But there is a piece in Pirkei Avot that really talks about it on two different levels. This is a great little piece of text by quote of Rabbi Akiva. It says, Hu haya omer. He, Rabbi Akiva, used to say, Chaviv Adam, beloved is the Adam, our human beings, Shenivra B'Tselem, that they are created B'Tselem Elohim, meaning that means in the image of the divine. But we have to understand that, in my view anyway, we have to understand that metaphorically. The tradition gives us the idea that the divine does not have an image. It's forbidden to make an image. God doesn't have an image. So how can humans be in the image of the divine? Well, because the divine is reality itself. And so anything that exists is an imaging of the divine. Here we are as manifestations of that divine mystery, that divine creative power. So that's a wonderful thing, just to recognize that what we are in essence is already divine. But then he says, Chiba Yetera. It's an extra belovedness. No dot. Lo, that is made known to him, or known to the human being, Shenivra B'Tselem. That not only are we made as an image of the divine, not only are we in essence divine, but the fact that it's made known to us. As it is said, B'Tselem Elohim asa et ha'adam. Whoops, this text, I'll have to fix that in my posting. I see that the words are a little mixed up in the Hebrew there. But anyway, the text in the Torah says that human beings are made in the image of the divine. Now, this parsha that we're going to look at right now is actually, last week was a double parsha. It was Nitzavim and Vayelech. This week we don't have a separate parsha because it's Rosh Hashanah, so it's going to be the Rosh Hashanah reading. But right now we can look at the second parsha from last week because we only looked at the first parsha last week. So this is the Parshat Vayelech. Vayelech means walking or going. And it says, Vayelech Moshe, Moses went, Vayedaber et hadavarim, and he spoke these speakings. It's the same word, daber and davarim. He spoke these speakings, or he spoke these. Davarim can also mean things. Ha'ele. Ele means these. And we looked at the word ele extensively last week. El Kol Yisrael, to all of Israel. Now, it's an interesting thing about this sentence. Moses went and spoke these things to all of Israel. That "to" really doesn't have to be underlined. That's a little typo. Sorry about that. But the thing I want to point out is that this word, or this, it could be a word or a word fragment, which is Aleph Lamed. It means a few different things, and it happens 3 times in this sentence. Let's look at them. So the first one is right here. It says Ha'ele, which means these. The second one is El Kol Yisrael. And in this sense, the word El means to, like he's speaking to the children of Israel. And lastly, Yisrael. Yisrael, which the name Israel comes from Sarita El, which means wrestling with the divine. It means wrestling with God. It can also mean striving for God, and it can also be understood to mean going straight to God, Yashar El. It means our human ability to connect with the divine, to see through the surface of things, to the divine essence. So here we have the 3 L's. Ele, which is these. El, which is to, but it also means God. It also means the divine. And Yisrael, which means strive or wrestles with God. So we can understand this underlying meaning of the fundamental message that Moses is giving to the Jewish people. These Ele, these beings who strive for God, who are Yisrael, are not at all separate from God. They're not at all separate from El. See, I'm just going to mute. I see someone became unmuted here. There we go. So there's a Hasidic teaching also on this week's Parsha, which is, it's not this week, it's the second of last week's Parsha, Vayelech, which means to go, that it is in contrast with the other Parsha that went with last week, which was Nitzavim, that we looked at last week. Nitzavim means standing, so it has a sense of being still, of being connected to the eternal dimension. When we're simply standing still, we're simply being. We're not trying to act on anything. We're not trying to do anything. We are simply standing. That has that connotation of being. Whereas the other parsha, Vayelech, means to walk or to go. And so it has the opposite connotation. And the last Lubavitcher Rebbe who lived, there are many teachings that he brings, Hasidic teachings that he brings in the Torah. And one of the things that he talks about that I think is so wonderful is that these 2 dimensions, the dimension of the eternal, of Nitzavim, of standing, and Vayelech, of moving and transforming and doing and accomplishing, these are the 2 sides, the yin and the yang, so to speak, of spiritual practice. And they have to work together. You can't really have one without the other. HESED in particular has to be rooted in Nitzavim, meaning we have to connect with that essential place from which loving kindness arises within ourselves. It has to be authentic, but in order to be real in the world, it has to be expressed, and there's no end to that. There's no end to what needs to be done. There's no end to the kind of service that can be offered in this world. As we know more than ever today, this world is a broken place that needs, that is in need, and that need is fulfilled through vayelech, through doing, through acting. So, so when we sit in meditation and we connect with that, that's like something that has to go hand in hand with the expression of our essence through HESED, which again is why HESED is both number one, but it's also number four, because it's an expression of the oneness in the world of time. Amen. So I'm going to bring back the So this is what we just talked about, the root of chesed that we can receive as awakening to our nature, and also that we give, of course, by seeing that others are B'Tselem Elohim. Being Yisrael means seeing the divine essence in others as well as knowing it within ourselves. And so this piyut, Adon Haslichot, a plea to the Hesed, the underlying Hesed of the universe, that essence should awaken towards us and plant a seed of blessing for this coming year. We have a special treat today because my friend Renee Ben Mele, who's here with us, is going to teach us and sing her version of Adon HaSlichot. And if you were with us last night for Slichot, you had a taste of it. And so we're going to have it again today. Thank you so much, Renee. I'm going to turn off the share for a moment and bring Renee on. I have to find you, Renee, here.
I was able to unmute.
Okay, great. I just want to, one moment, I want to, for the sake of the recording, I want to pin your video, and I have to find you first to do that, unless Lisa can do it. Oh, I found you. I can do it. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, now I have you in the front and center. And so Renee's going to tell us a little bit about what she's doing.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here this morning. And yeah, I wanted to just share that this song, every year when High Holidays comes around, this is one of the songs that I look forward to the most. This prayer, this supplication to really to all that is love. And the second part, the chorus, please have mercy on us, we have missed the mark, is something that always really touches me, because we all miss the mark. Now and again, we just do, even with our best intentions. And last night when we were talking about, we were actually practicing the vidui in the slichot service. It was occurring to me more and more how even when I see things on there that I can't relate to, actions that I can't relate to, there's something so powerful about, almost like the Hawaiian tradition of ho'oponopono, where I say, I'm so sorry, please forgive me, is that I'm a part of all that is. And so this please have compassion, please have compassion. I missed the mark. We have missed the mark, as a society, as a community, whatever it is, really means something to me. So this song is not a song that, I should say that the melody is really not a melody that I wrote. It exists out in the world. The difference is that in the chorus, I changed it from the traditional one goes to major, and I changed it to minor. And so I just want to teach you the chorus of how this part goes, okay?
And I'll put the words on the screen now, Renee.
Yeah.
And I also just want to say we weren't sure whether we're going to do the whole thing or not because of time, but I think we can do the whole thing. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm going to put it on the screen. And the words will come in a few different chunks. So this is the first two verses here.
Yeah, so the way the chorus goes is Hatanu. I'm doing it a little slow right now so you guys can just hear how it goes, okay? Hatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. So maybe in your own space, we can try that together, okay? And I'll go slow. Hatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. And then one more time, it's a little different. Hatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. The rachem aleinu is always the same. The ha'atanu, the first and second, are a little different. So here's how the second one goes again. Hatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. Okay, and this is what it sounds like a little faster. Hatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. Hatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. Okay. Is that a pretty good intro there, Brian? Move forward. Okay. So obviously, great. So obviously you can sing along with any part of it that you're familiar with, but definitely come with us on that chorus, okay? Adon chaselichot bochem levavot gole amukot
בריות יודע כל נסתרות כובש עוונות לובש צדקות חתנו לפניך רחם עלינו חתנו לפניך רחם מעלה זרעיות נורא תחילות סולח עוונות עונה בצרות חתנו לפניך רחם עלינו חתנו לפניך רחם עלינו פועל ישועות צופה עתידות קורא הדורות רוכב נרות שומע תפילות תמים דעות חתנו לפניך רחם עלינו חתנו לפניך רחם עלינו חתנו לפניך רחם עלינו חתנו לפניך רחם עלינו
Amen. Thank you so much, Renee. Yasher
Amen.
koach, yasher koach. Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to come into meditation now. Bringing your right hand to your heart. Invoking that spirit of Chesed and Rachamim, the spirit of giving our awareness, giving our attentiveness, giving our presence to the fullness of this moment as it appears, to the underlying divine presence manifest as this moment in all of its richness, and offering our awareness with the offering word, lecha, on a long out breath. Deep breath in, lecha. And bringing left hand to your belly, shining awareness down through your body, soaking into all of your organs, enlivening your cells, shining down from your belly, down through your legs to your feet and toes. Shining up from your belly back into your chest, heart and lungs, upper back, shoulders and neck, spilling down through your arms to your hands and fingers, connecting back with your heart and belly, shining into your face, facial muscles, brain and nervous system, bringing a little smile to your lips to express this generosity of presence with the body. Letting awareness rest on the flow of breathing, letting go of the stream of thinking, and anchoring this body awareness with na'aseh on a long out breath. Deep breath in, na'aseh. And bringing right hand to lightly touch your forehead. Awareness filling the body and shining out from the body, out into space in all directions, connecting with all sensory perceptions, the sounds, the light, the shape of the room. Feel the space around you. And knowing that the sense within, the sense of emotion and thought, and the sense of the space around you are all part of one experience arising in one field of awareness. And you are this one field, vast and formless, silent, spacious, and free. You are this awareness. V'nishma. Deep breath in. V'nishma. And kissing your fingers, relaxing your hands. Atahu. At-yahi. You. You are who are the mystery of existence itself. You who are reality. You who are the presence of being in all things. Intimately present. Resting awareness on the vibration of the words as we chant together. Atahu, 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 Atyahi, Atyahi, bringing the chant inward, letting your mind rest in the vibration of the tefillah in your mind, letting go of the stream of thinking, noticing thoughts as they arise, not pushing them away, accepting them, being the open space within which they come, but not being drawn into them. And we'll sit for the remaining time, about a little more than 10 minutes in silence. Kaveh el Hashem, Kaveh, Kaveh el Hashem, Kaveh el Hashem, Hazak v'ya'amet libecha v'kaveh el Hashem. Kaveh, Kaveh, Kaveh el Hashem, Kaveh, Kaveh, Kaveh el Hashem, Kaveh el Hashem, Chazak v'ya'amet libecha v'kaveh Hashem, Kaveh, Kaveh, Kaveh el Hashem, Kaveh, Kaveh, Kaveh el Hashem, Kaveh el Hashem, Chazak v'ya'amet libecha v'kaveh Hashem. And closing the meditation, once again bringing your right hand to your heart and offering awareness with lecha and a long out breath. Deep breath in, lecha. Bringing your left hand to your belly, awareness flowing like light down into your organs, shining out from there in all directions, filling the temple of the body with the light of your awareness. Naaseh, deep breath in, Naaseh. And bringing right hand to your forehead, awareness shining out into space, knowing that you are this vast open field of consciousness within and yet beyond body, within and yet beyond feeling and thought. Vast, silent, free openness that we are. V'nishma, deep breath in. V'nishma. Kissing your fingers, relaxing your hands. As we come into this final week before the renewal of the year, may this root quality of HESED, of loving kindness, become more and more manifest as the underlying experience and motive on all levels. May we experience that HESED quality also in the world around us, manifesting as relief and healing on all levels that is so needed. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru